now we go to the breaking ball, if you will, the slider or the curve. The slider is a shorter, quicker motion or movement on the ball, and the curveball a little bigger. If you would, you mind showing the grips for each, and then kind of deciphering for us a little bit about the difference between them?
Yeah, I think the curveball it's been a dying type of pitch. I mean, guys, it's a difficult pitch to throw, and it's a difficult pitch to throw for strikes. But again, we're trying to create spin. And when I hold the curveball, I like to create a little bit of tension between my middle finger on this part of the horseshoe, and I get my thumb underneath here. So when I throw this baseball, the ball feels like it wants to pop out here. So that's important as far as the grip and creating some tension, so I can create spin. Now, when I go to throw the baseball, I want to have a path. So when I throw my fastball, my path's here. When I throw my curveball, my path is a little shorter than my fastball path. So now my hand works over the baseball to help create that spin. So it's this as opposed to I'm here and then I'm here. So my hand works through the baseball, and this ball wants to come off the top of my finger and create this kind of spin. So this is really important. The grip, I think guys get too loose. They try to get real wristy with their, and I'm gonna create spin with wrist as opposed to creating spin with tension on the finger, where it's almost like a spinning top this way, as opposed to trying to get here and trying to wrist through the ball and create side to side spin. With the curveball, I really want the spin working top to bottom. Obviously we talk about 12 to 6, but either way, we can get the ball, get our hand on top of the baseball, getting it working down, and again, changing planes.
Exactly. The curveball would be a little more off speed compared to the slider, which we're going to get to next. But you see guys that have good curveballs, you see them, they'll just spin the ball out on their own, just working the finger action that you just described. And certainly the curveball is, I don't want to say a dying pitch in the game, but years ago it was a lot more pronounced, and more pitchers used the curveball. But the slider kind of took over in the 80s and 90s, and now there's variations of pitches that pitchers use these days. But certainly the slider has become the weapon that I think most pitchers have in their arsenal.
Right. I mean, you have the Kershaws of the world, and you have some really elite curveball guys. And I think, to me, is like you can tell right away with a pitcher who can spin the baseball. And those are the guys who really got, hey, let's throw the curveball, because the curveball is a great pitch if you can command it and if you can spin it. The slider is more for me, and I wasn't a curveball guy. It was a fourth pitch for me. I didn't spin the ball that great. But a slider is a pitch for me that I can get some movement. It can track like my fastball, but it can be in the strike zone more often. The curveball is a difficult pitch to throw for a strike, and I think that's where guys get, hey, we got to fill the strike zone. And with the curveball being as difficult to spin and then get in that box, it becomes very, very difficult. But with the slider, for me, I'm thinking, we talk about paths, but I have a fastball path out here, I have a curveball path here. The slider's in between, and my fingers, I'd like to create a little bit, if I think about a clock, from my point of view, is a 2 o'clock grip. Now, once I start getting through this ball, I have a little bit of a bend in my elbow, where if I threw my fastball, I'd be here. I throw my curveball, there's a little bit more bend, but I'm in between on this slider, and my hand is already at that grip. Boom, I'm a little bit bent here. My hand's going to work through the baseball here, with my wrist being firm and my fingers working over top of the baseball. So now what happens is it tracks as a fastball, and then at the end we have a little bit of bite. And some guys get through it better than others. Taylor Scott has a really good slider for us. He's able to throw that for strikes. It's really sharp, it's hard. It's an 87 mile an hour to 88 mile an hour slider. Some guys might be a little bit slower. Nick Ramirez has a variation of that. He's doing a slider slash cutter. And again, the difference between that is if I'm at 2 o'clock with my slider, I'm probably at 1 with my cutter, and it's sharper and tighter. So what the idea here is, at our level, we're trying to get those guys to miss barrels. And sometimes, if we're lucky, it'll miss a bat.